Abraham had lived a blessed life, a foreigner in a strange land with no connection and no support. He always chose to do things the hard way, and yet God had come through for him every time. He had been blessed by Melchizedek, dined with angels, and conversed with God. He had won the respect of kings and pharaohs. Every promise God had made him had come to pass. And yet, even Abram struggles to believe one promise. It seems so ridiculous, so laughable, so ludicrous. You see, God has promised Abraham a legacy through his offspring. Abraham tried to manufacture this legacy by having a child with Hagar. That backfired big time. Now, Sarah and he are pensioners with no kids, no legacy, and no promised blessing. For Abram and Sarah, it seems a reasonable question. When do we stop holding out for this? When do we think maybe we heard wrong, or God's changed his mind, or maybe we screwed up in some way and this just isn't going to happen for us? God's track record is so quickly dismissed and forgotten. Sure, Abram's rich and successful, but a child to an old, infertile couple? That's just too much to expect. God's left it too late, and it simply isn't going to happen. Maybe God has promised you something that hasn't happened. Is it late in coming, or too impossible to be believed? Have you grown jaded from the false starts and failed attempts to bring it about? Is it easier to dismiss the promise as laughable than risk the vulnerability of believing afresh for something so long in coming? When Sarah heard the news that God had promised that she would have a child within a year, she laughed. Ridiculous, she said. A year later, she named her son Isaac, meaning laughter. But this time the laughter wasn't scorn, it was of joy. Time and time again, from these stories in the beginning, we hear how God keeps his promises. What he says he will do, he does. Not always in the manner expected, and rarely in the time anticipated, but God always keeps his word. Maybe today you need to spend some time thinking back through the promises and blessings you've received from God. Spend some time giving thanks to him for the blessings in your life. And if there are promises that you've given up on, ask God to reaffirm them and then give you the patience to wait on him and his timing. As Abram and Sarah's doubt became joy, I pray that you too will experience the joy of God's blessing in your life today.